All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. I'm your host, Julian Smartrimple, King Jewelz here. Welcome to the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. If this is your first time rocking with us, we appreciate y'all who are tuning in via Wisdom. Shout out to any of our listeners that are tuning in via Twitter Spaces, getting some exclusive behind the scenes access to our episode today. But if this is your first time joining us, the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast lifestyle show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals, wisdom on how to shine bright. So if you are an entrepreneur that is a millennial, big up to our millennial entrepreneurs or young professionals. If you are a Gen Zer, we always love our Gen Z entrepreneurs and audience members listening in. But even if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for the baby boomers that are rocking with us. We definitely thank you for taking time to learn all the jewels of wisdom that we provide for the RTJ podcast show and vidcast series. If you're interested in being a future guest on one of our episodes this season, we only have literally 1 or 2 slots left. And so you can fill out the interest form that we're putting in the comment section below to allow our team to look through your job form and see if you align with our show's mission and our vision. And so we appreciate all of our bright, shining VIP jewels that have been a part of our episodes this season. We could not have made the show a success without you. And then finally, we are streaming on all podcasts, music streaming platforms that you stream your favorite podcasts or music artists. Just search for the Run the Jewelz podcast and you'll see our cover art with my face on it. And then you'll be able to listen from our season 1 episodes all the way from our beginnings. You all. And so if you want to how far we've have continued to just take the show to the next level, listen to our podcast on all podcast music streaming platforms. And again, shout out to Wisdom and Twitter Spaces for getting exclusive access even before the episode premieres today. So we are a live podcast Q&A style show with our interview that we host with our guests. And so if you have any questions, Wisdom or Twitter, that you have any questions for our guest at any time, feel free to come on to the stage. We won't put you on blast. This is, again, for us to learn, for us to build, and for us to grow and shine together. And so feel free to ask any questions throughout the episode. And if you're watching this episode premiere, you can put any questions or comments in the comment section, and we'll do our. And so those are all the housekeeping for today, which by how to reconnect your body is what we're looking at today, and how to reconnect yourself using therapy massages. We're going to be talking to our very special VIP guest on how she has been able to run a successful, thriving business, and also just a healing business in reconnecting her clients and reconnecting her audience members to their higher self using touch therapy massages. I actually came across this queen, shout out to Brandy Pratt, who's been one of our guests on RTJ, and then also was one of our VIP prosperity speakers at the Prosperity Jewel Summit we recently hosted in Mexico. And she recommended this very dynamic queen who is into health and wellness and healing. And I told her to have a team reach out for her to come on. Come on to our audience. And so I'm going to get ready to step to the back and introduce you to my very special VIP guest. Miss Sha'ahn Williams, who is coming on to talk to us about how to reconnect to your higher self using touch therapy massages. And so, Sha'ahn, how are you doing today, Queen?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for taking time schedule to come on and rock with us this day for your episode. What we usually do, Sha'ahn, we ask our guests to tell us in our audience where you're originally from. Tell us
Mhm.
like where you're streaming this episode today, and why is this an important subject for you to discuss with our audience today?
Okay, thank you again. And I apologize, I didn't ask you how you were, but I think because we just spoke before this. Anyway, so yes, I'm Sha'ahn Williams. I'm the owner of Body Thief. I am a master aesthetics instructor and also life coach and touch therapist. Recently, I'm also a neuro linguistic practitioner as well. I am originally from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. I now live about 3 hours south of that in Virginia, near Washington, D.C. That's where I'm streaming from now. And touch therapy, why is it important? Why is it life changing? There's so many reasons for that, but particularly in this climate, in our the society that we're in now, touch is something that's just kind of not done. And it was already going that way with COVID, um, distancing and stay at home orders, but it's just been exacerbated since then. So, of course, before that, because people were more into social media, I feel like as a society, we've already begun kind of distancing from each other. And then you add to it the COVID restrictions, it just blew it up. And what we're seeing is the aftermath of that. People feeling extremely lonely, people feeling more depressed than ever. Like statistics are saying anxiety is the number one problem, mental health problem right now in the world, at least in I know in our country. And it doesn't have to be. There's some very simple solutions, and I found that just touch is one of them. Now, I'm recently certified with the touch therapy. However, I've been conducting touch therapy sessions for about 10 years now because I am an esthetician first, and doing skincare therapies, body massages, or body therapy like applications of creams, lotions, oils, scrubs, body wraps, all those things. I'm hands on. I'm a hands on person. And I realized through my profession, people people really need to be touched. People really need to be touched. I mean, a nurse could tell you sometimes there will be patients who come in and they aren't even ill. They don't even really have a sickness. They're just lonely for company, to someone to speak with, but also just to be touched, to be felt like they're cared for. And that's where this therapy comes in, I believe. Excuse me, just pushing my nose ring back in there. Yeah. So I just think it's important because we do need to touch more in general, without the sexual intonation or like the lust factor, just genuine intimacy and touch, pure love.
Yeah, no, I love that, Queen. We need that, especially a lot in our community. Shout out to all of the brethren, the kings and queens that are rocking with us. We are on the line today speaking with Sha'ahn Williams about how to reconnect to your higher self using touch therapy massages. And so feel free at any time to ask any questions that you have, wisdom or Twitter of Sha'ahn in the subject that we are discussing today. And big up to StreamYard, who is who we are powered by. You can get an exclusive $10 off discount by clicking the link that we're putting in the comment section below, by selecting one of their packages today. But back to you, Sha'ahn. We want, because I know I was even doing out that you were in. And like for those of us who may have heard about like Reiki versus touch therapy, like what is the difference? And like for those who may not even know, like what is touch therapy?
Okay, yeah, Reiki and touch therapy, they are different. Reiki specifically deals with balancing your chakras. Um, that could be a benefit with touch therapy because you are connecting with your higher self. You are going inward during touch therapy. But touch therapy literally is that it is reconnecting through physical touch. In Reiki, we may not be touched. I'm not sure if you've ever had a Reiki session, but they don't necessarily touch you. They may use a pendulum to gauge your energy, where it is in each chakra, and then they kind of go from there. Some Reiki masters I have experienced. I've only had 2 Reiki sessions, so I'm not the expert on that. But I know the first session was the analysis, and the second one, she did the pendulum. So I think the difference more so is it's still an individual process, and it's still an internal thing that's happening for the client as well as the provider too, because we have to be grounded a certain way in our energy. But it's all happening here and here. With Reiki, they're trying to find out which chakra is blocked, what needs to be opened so that you can flow and your energy will flow better. And with touch therapy, I wouldn't say that I'm focusing on any specific chakra or any specific type of energy, although I do ask my clients why they're here. The way I present the touch therapy is a way to, as I always say, reconnect with yourself. To A lot of my clients feel stuck. Some of my clients feel stagnant in life. Some of my clients feel like they've forgotten who they are as a person because they are so ingrained in their life as a mother, a father, as a provider, as a spouse. Some people feel like before they don't remember who they were before they got married. Some people are workaholics. Some people have phobias. I mean, I get people who come to me for all types of things, and they do get relief, and there is a transformation after the session. So, and what I do is I just really am channeling my love and my positive feelings to that other person. And what's been happening is people literally feel unburdened during the session, and they feel lighter, they feel more encouraged, they feel more positive, and they actually feel motivated to pursue that whatever it is that they were holding themselves back from. For me, I look at touch therapy as a way to free yourself from all of your self-imposed limitations and to open you up to knowing that everything is nothing is anything except consciousness. But we are physical beings, so we're spiritual beings in a physical body, really. And that physical body still has to be taken care of. So when people come, they come programmed with a lot of things that prevent them from getting touch in their everyday life. They may have been raised in a strict religious household. I know for me, that was an influencer on how long I allowed myself to be touched. And where we have science has proven that an embrace longer than 30 seconds creates a physical response in the brain and a chemical reaction in the body, and you feel relaxation, you feel good and positive. So That's all I'm trying to bring out of people who come to me. I'm just trying to promote a love energy and bring that back. And also for men, and like you said, in our community, especially young men, young black men, I want them to know that you can experience touch and intimacy without pressure to perform sexually, and also without you expecting any sexual performance for the touch. Like you can be touched, so it's a reconditioning that's happening too. And the feedback that I've gotten has varied from I feel so relaxed, I feel like a baby. I haven't had anybody treat me like this since I was a child, all the way to my God, like I literally feel like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulder and I'm gonna go after A, B, C, and D. This is all even just these are testimonies I'm giving from someone who just had one session with me, 1 hour with me. It can be life changing.
Man, I love that, Queen. Definitely, we're gonna dive into more of why it's important to have that type of touch and that type of love and affection that many of us may have not received growing up, even from parents or loved ones. Right after we come back for our quick commercial break, because we definitely got to talk about like how you've seen the transformation in yourself and even in your clients that may have been absent of that love and affection and even that simple touch when they were growing up. Like, how have
Mhm.
you seen in your own life that transition in going into touch therapy? And even maybe what are some of the testimonies of your clients that may have breakdowns or may have revelations that they receive just from the simple therapy and the massages that you provide them?
Mhm. Well, firstly, not just specific to the Black community. I think men in general really aren't encouraged, to show vulnerability, except with their girl or their wife, and even that sometimes they're not even comfortable doing that. But let's just say, in general, men are taught to internalize trauma. They're taught not to express fear or a desire just for simple intimacy, and it's looked at as not macho or not masculine. So they tend to cover up that need through other stuff, like maybe lashing out, maybe being more violent. It could manifest itself in so many negative ways, but there is such a simple solution, man. I've even read studies how they've taken people from violent background, like violent criminals, certain type of criminals obviously, but certain violent criminals, and they just had them hugging, and just the transformation of those they were prisoners. They did experiments with that though, but just the way the mind started to shift, the way the levels of aggression were significantly lowered, speaks volumes. And my personal experience is, yeah, I actually am one of those children who did not grow up receiving a lot of affection. And it made me very standoffish when it came to physical affection in certain ways, especially from people. Like, I was very selective with it because of that. So but for men, I know it's even harder than it is for a woman, um because you also have the societal pressure of having a man not be quote unquote sensitive. And I don't know why hugging and stuff is equated with sensitivity, because it's just a human action that we need. Like I said, God has already made us in such a way where we physically have a chemical change in our bodies from hugging. So, I mean, anyway, humans are funny. They love putting conditions upon themselves that don't need to be placed on us. But as I told you before the break, one of the bigger testimonials that I have is from a woman that's been married for quite some time. I want to say, like, I don't even know, 15 years or something. I know it's been quite a long time. Her children are already in high school. And she came to me just like, I do not remember like who I am. Like that is literally like killing me, and the breakdown was the fact that she could only see herself as a mother. And my first question to her is, what was your maiden name? Do you know she hesitated for quite a while. I was shocked. I'm like, don't tell me you don't remember your maiden name. And she goes, no, 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 I remember it. I'm like, okay. So she told me what it was. And then I go, okay, who was that woman? How did that woman think? How did that woman act? And I'm like, I'm not telling you to go back to being that old self because obviously you're not going to be that. But what type of person was that girl? And she goes, oh my God, I don't remember. I don't remember. And I was like, you don't remember, you're old, like before you got married, you don't remember that girl? And she goes, no. And then, she just breaks down and like, this is why I'm here. Like, I feel like I'm just going through the motions and all I am is mom and wife. And I know there's more to me than that, and I want to have goals outside of my family. And so we did the session. It was actually a short session. So let me also say this. So the sessions, I allot 60 minutes to 90 minutes, but it could be short. It could be 45 minutes. It could run 2 hours. Like you don't really know what's going to happen while I'm doing the therapy. And it's all intuitive. So after our conversation, and some people don't really want to talk, but I tell them, what is weighing on your mind? Like, why are you here? And if it's not something you feel comfortable speaking out loud, write it down. And you don't even have to show me because we don't have to talk. Like, I'm not a licensed psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm just a therapist, like a touch therapist and a NLP practitioner. And NLP just helps people learn how their mind works. And I always tell people, like, I'm not up and you're not down. You're not up and I'm not down. We're just two humans having a conversation, having a bit of touch. And I just happen to know a little bit more about how our brains and how our minds work than you do. But what I'm going to impart to you is going to give you that same knowledge so you can go forward and conquer, So during that and after that, we that's when I conduct the touching. So it's massaging, it's vibration, it's sepulchement. I do a bit of embracing. When I do the embrace, that's when everybody breaks down. And that shows me people don't get hugged. Like, people don't get hugged. And I'm like, wow, people don't get hugged. And they need that. So I just want to hug everybody and give them that love. I can't say that enough. Love is, what they say, love covers a multitude of sins. Love heals all ills. Love is everything. And that's what we're here to promulgate, promote, encourage. You know what I mean? It's all love.
Yeah, nah, that's a major jewel right there that you're dropping, Queen. Like, we all are in that search for love, whether it's through a partner, whether it's through a spouse, whether it's through different careers or passions that we have. And so a lot of us are love deprived, which is why I love the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, because we all even receive love in different ways and shapes and forms. And so, like, wisdom audience or Twitter space, if y'all have any questions for my very special guest, Sha'ahn Williams, who's dropping a ton of jewels, she's already literally halfway into our episode. But if you have any questions for Sha'ahn, feel free to ask them at this time. We are opening it up for our live Q&A discussion. If you have any questions, don't be shy. Feel free to come on to the screen or come on to the app. But I know when it comes to, let's stay with the men, because there's a lot of men and kings that watch our podcast episodes or listen online, Sha'ahn, and like talk to us about like with the men, what do you think is the holdup with a lot of men still in this year, literally not being able to show affection, not being able to embrace, like you mentioned, their woman, their mate, their partners, not being able to really even accept that type of touch, even from their brothers. Let's just keep it real, even from other men or kings that are not in a sexual way. Like, talk to us about like how can the men be helped in this regard?
I think first men need to just put the guard down. You know, allow yourself to be yourself. Accept yourself for who you are and how you are. If you like being hugged or touched, that doesn't make, you know, a lot of it also is from society's conditioning of um no homo type of deal. Like, you don't always have to say no homo after something. Like, it it doesn't make you quote unquote gay, homosexual, because you acknowledge your human nature that needs touch. It needs physical touch, like a baby. I remember my first male client, he said that. He said, I felt like a baby. And he literally fell asleep. He didn't cry, but he fell asleep kind of fast. But he said it was because he just felt so comfortable and he felt swaddled. Like, those were his words. I felt like you swaddled me like a baby. Like, it was amazing. And I just instantly knocked out. And I'm like, the relaxation was there. And he goes, you know, because he's an IT guy working a lot of hours and just really stressed out, trying to, he was a single dad and also trying to relocate and sell his house. He was just doing a whole lot at once and working 2 IT contracts, like just a lot happening. No one is giving him affection just to give it to him. And I had another guy, he said he's very, very alpha. And his issue was when he would try to seek some type of therapy in that way, just to receive the energy, he said he always ends up being the one giving it still, no matter what. And you know, that could also be like, because he does self-describe as an alpha, but that could be a control thing for him too. But I'm not going to go into all that, but I'm just going by the feedback I'm hearing from people, and also why they're requesting the therapy. I know that a lot of you have seen the therapist. I use that term therapist loosely. I would just say practitioners, quote unquote, touch therapy, but it's really sexual. It seems very inappropriate. And sometimes when you look, I watch these videos on Instagram, I feel uncomfortable. And I am a grown woman. You know, I'm 45 years old, but I'm looking and I'm like, oh, I'm cringing because this is not what it's about. And this is not what I want people to think I'm a part of, that movement. And I'm not judging in that way, but I don't want to be associated with that type of touch therapy. Like, this isn't ending with a physical type of quote unquote happy ending. Like, this happy ending is going to be spiritual. This happy ending is going to be mental. But the love, they need love. So a big part of my mission is actually to reach out to younger people. I just need to figure out how to do it in such a way where it could not be misconstrued as anything other than what it is. And so that is something that I'm researching. I want to get with some groups or organizations who work with at-risk youth, and we can introduce the touch therapy, the hugging, kind of similar how they did the program I mentioned earlier with the prisoners, the grown men. But I want to get to these younger men and women before they end up in a adult facility, like where they still have a chance while they're just at risk at this point. I want to reach them with this therapy because it cuts down the aggression so much. Like, it's a significant reduction in aggression, overall aggression. It helps you be more patient because When somebody is giving you love and you know they don't expect anything in return, it helps you to grow and be able to give love too. So, you know how they always say, hurt people hurt people? Well, heal people help heal people. And it's all through example. Like, that's how we learn, through example. And if I could just reach out to people, because sometimes I have men try to, they test me. They try to see what what type of therapist I am. I'm putting that mildly. And I just quickly, gracefully and respectfully check them and put them in their place. But outside of some lower vibrational people, this has been a very, very positive and um enlightening situation. And for me too, like, I think in the beginning you asked me how's it affected me. For me, I've just been more accepting of myself. I don't really get on myself when I feel like I violated my own boundaries I've set for myself, in the sense of, like, say I told myself I want to work out every day, and if I skip a day, I'm not berating myself. I'm not, I'm still loving myself. Because through this therapy, you also learn no one can put thoughts in your head except you. Only you. So you are the decider in how you're going to be, the person you're going to be. But you're also your own judge and jury. So all these things happen inside. And I know it seems like a whole lot. And you're like, oh, they're getting all this from a session. But yeah, yeah. It's called enlightening. It's called having an aha moment. And sometimes you just need that one aha moment that changed the trajectory of the rest of your life. And I hope that I could be a catalyst for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, nah, you dropping a ton of jewels right there, Queen. And even like what would you say to even people that are hyper religious and that basically will deem energy transfer, anything with energy, as new age spirituality or as pagan founded and things of those nature? Like, educate the people, Sha'ahn, on like what do you deem as energy transfer? Why should we not be afraid to have these discussions about different forms of energy transfer? And what are your thoughts on challenging that stereotype of energy transfer is pagan, energy transfer is demonic, energy transfer is new age?
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't want people coming for me now with no pitchforks and stuff. Let me
Hey,
say this about myself.
we get
I've
controversial on this.
Right. I've lived a few different lives here now. I actually used to be married to a minister. I was, at one time, I was a Messianic Jew. I speak Hebrew. I have studied scripture. I later studied Buddhism. Of course, I looked up into Islam as well, because I am from Philadelphia. So there's such a strong Muslim community in that city. And I grew up around Muslims, Nation of Islam, all different denominations of Islam, Christianity. I grew up non-denominational, but in high school, I wanted to learn more. So I embarked on this other journey to learn about God. Who is God, and what should we be doing to really serve him? But since then, I've come to realize, my own belief is that if I truly accept the doctrine of the oneness that I think Jesus was imparting to us all, and he said it, I and my Father are one. And he told us we would be the same too. We would do what he did and even greater things. But how could we do those things? We would have to be one with God. Like, we would have to accept the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. I don't believe now that you have to accept the spirit. I believe that spirit's already a part of all of us, because we wouldn't be alive. We all know there's a difference between being physically alive and actually having your spirit tethered to the body. Like, energy, all we are is energy. The creator, God, universe is energy. So how could it be pagan? How could it not be holy or from a source of good, a source of love? If that's how we created, if we're created in his image and likeness, how could that energy be bad? And then the brain receptors. So I would challenge religious people to think about our body. We are still placed in a physical body. So why would you deny something that God placed in us to receive that pleasure? Pleasure is not a bad thing. You can be on a spiritual dean, I guess, and deny yourself bodily pleasure, but that's your choice. God gave us these bodies and these nerves and receptors to experience pleasure. That doesn't make them bad or satanic or demonic. Like, that makes no sense to me. So whatever God has blessed my body with to be able to experience pleasure, and we also have pain receptors too, so y'all know that we have pleasure and pain. Everything has to be balanced, and everything is energy. You can't separate that. So I refuse to accept the idea that because I feel physical pleasure from an embrace, or because I choose to give my love to people, that it comes from a satanic. No, I don't believe that. And I also, this might be a doozy for people, I have no problem with sex workers. Sex work it is what it is. It might not be for you, it may not be for me, but that is not my place to judge. This is what I firmly believe. I firmly believe that God, yup, creator of the whole entire universe and everything within it, all the planets, all the animals, people, plant, every single thing that's ever been created, to what we are aware of and what we don't even know that's created. I believe that that energy, that force, that creator is experiencing life through me and everybody else and everything else. And that's their choice. That person's choice is to allow God to experience life through them. And who am I to say that it is good, bad, right, wrong? Because if the Bible says that sin is sin, who am I to say what's one worse than the other, right? Obviously, everything is contextual, and I'm being very, very black and white here. Like, don't think that I'm a callous person and I don't care about other people, because I'm not saying that. But I just mean when we get to the very black and white of things, and if you are a Christian or a religious person and you have religious text, at least the Bible does say, one, God is no respecter of persons, and two, sin is all the same in the eyes of the Lord. So I really don't like to divide up sins among people. It's not my business. And I choose to focus on my personal relationship with God, my personal walk, my personal growth, my personal evolution. And if everyone was more self-reflective and introspective, they wouldn't even be worried about what other people do or not do. Because our job is not to save the world. It never was, it never will be. Jesus couldn't even do it. You can't save the world. It's an individual thing. But that individual is going to affect their world and the world around them, which in turn would affect another person in their little microcosm and the world around them, and so on and so forth. It's going to keep going and going. That's how you change the world. But you can't change it on a soapbox or a platform trying to get at everyone. You have to go here first. And like the Bible say, your light just want to shine. Like, it can't help it. So I would challenge everyone who's religious that swears they have this divine directive to rethink that and go back to God. Because in my history has showed us that all these people that had these divine directives didn't do nothing but cause pain and tragedy around the world. So let's stop trying to care, like let's stop being concerned with everyone else and what everyone else is doing, and look into yourself. Who do you really want to be? Are you happy with the person that you are? And then think about why you're the way you are. Do you know that? Do you know why you feel the way you do? Was it because someone told you to feel that way? Or is that how you truly feel? These are the things that get unlocked just through touch. And going back to what I said, why would God put receptors in our brain that respond to that physical embrace in such a positive way, in such a wonderful, blessed way, if it was bad? So, am I saying that lust doesn't exist, lasciviousness, or things that can motivate people to do things that wouldn't be considered good actions? Maybe. But we're not going to talk about the what ifs. I just want to talk about what is. And what I do know is physical touch is necessary for positive responses within a person's mind and body. Period.
And that's right on cue. I know we definitely had to discuss that because a lot of people they do shun these type of alternate healing practices and even alternative medicine. I'm plant-based and definitely all the way alkaline. So for those who are not into martial arts and other religious beliefs, they may again shun anything that has to deal with the energy concept and even the transference of different energies. But I know
But you're
before we let you go,
constantly, I'm sorry, you're
no, go ahead, go
constantly
ahead, no, go ahead, Quinn.
transferring energy. We're constantly transferring energy with each other. It may not be a conscious thing and say, I'm going to give you my energy, but you're doing that all day, every day. So, how
That's
can
real.
somebody divide that and say this is of God and this isn't? Like that part I don't get because you don't really know. That's like when I used to be in a holiness assembly. I was like the people trying to tell other people they're not saved because they didn't display speaking in tongues. But the Bible clearly says everybody not going to speak in tongues. Like, how can you make that a criteria for salvation? And then two, we're human. Like, you don't know that person's heart for real, and you don't know their relationship with God for real. You don't know that. And I think it's very, very arrogant and very I think it's a very unholy attitude to have.
Hey, it's real out here, like you said. But that's what I was gonna leave you with before we do our final jewel, which is where we allow you to give a final jewel of wisdom to leave with our audience today. Like, talk about like why people need to not play with their healing. We've seen throughout, of course, the pandemic, many people not just lost their lives because of getting jabbed or the pandemic, or even just stressing themselves out to the point of wanting to end it all. But we starting
Yeah.
to see those numbers continue to rise up with early termination deaths and people who are even younger, like you said, outside of the youth dying from violence. More youth are dying from, again, addictions. They're dying from, again,
Mhm.
suicide. Talk to us
Mhm.
about like why should people not play with their healing, whether they're a king or a queen that's listening, and what are some practical steps you would challenge people to make healing a priority for this year?
Oh, wow, those are great questions. So I think I would say this as far as why you don't want to play with your healing, but let me be positive on that. So when we're on this quest to what I call rise the ladder of enlightenment, when you're climbing up, you want to release yourself first from self-imposed limitations, blockages that were created within you when you were a child, things that you picked up from your environment, most likely your parents or whomever raised you. As you start to free yourself from those things, you do start to elevate as you become closer with the creator, going into yourself, learning about how to quiet your mind, learning how to distinguish your thoughts from society, the universal mind. As you start to grow, as you start to learn who you truly are, who your divine self is, if you even believe in all that, but if you are on that healing journey, and by the way, I was alkaline vegan for 2 years myself, but on Dr. Sabi's um, recommended food list. I used to only eat from that list. But when you are on this enlightening journey, first, I just want to say that if you find yourself backsliding, is a term they use in church, but it works. If you find yourself not doing the things that you think you should do to reach that new state that you want to achieve or to transition into mentally, spiritually, don't fret. Wherever you left off, that's where you stay. You don't go back states. I know it's the whole story about Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot and his wife, but that was a metaphor to show you when you're trying to transition states, you're trying to leave hell, and you want to get to that next place, that promised land, whatever it is that you set out for yourself. If you want to be more ambitious, if you want to be more confident, if you want to have more money, like whatever state you're trying to get into, you definitely don't want to look back. Because what might happen is you get stuck in that state, which was the metaphor for Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt. She was preserved in that state, right? Because she kept looking back. But that goes to show you that you're not going to go below where you are, but you can get stuck. Now, when you get back on track, you start maybe doing affirmations again, you start walking in faith again, and you start climbing up again, you're going to ascend more. You know what I mean? So every time you kind of veer off your path, don't worry, you won't ever get below where you stopped. You might get stuck there, but you won't go back to where you were. So that's the positive. And you're always going to keep going up. The other thing is, why people shouldn't play with their healing is because your life depends on it. You know, I was on a podcast a couple weeks ago and I was talking about people like to talk because they got lips. You know what I mean? In my line of work, people complain a lot because they don't understand that they're trying to change their circumstances from the outside, and that never works. You can't change a problem by attacking the symptoms. You have to change it by attacking the cause or the source of the problem. So when it comes to behaviors, a lot of times, and which is traditional therapy, which I'm more into new psychology because it's more effective and it actually works. People won't be on antidepressants for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Why it's important is just to get you what you want. Like, I really don't care. You know what I'm saying? If you're happy as a couch potato, then be a couch potato and you be good with that. You accept yourself for that and you be happy with that. And if you want to be more than that, I love that for you too. But how you going to get there is the key. Why is your mind torturing itself? You're judging yourself. That's what I would say. So what's one thing? Stop judging yourself. For real. I'm in this room right now by myself. And sometimes I could feel feeling of guilt or anxiety or that someone's watching me. And I have to even remind myself, and I've been doing this for years now, but I have to remind myself, like, I'm the only person that could put thoughts in my head. Like, where's that coming from? Like, why am I feeling embarrassed? I'm in this room alone right now. That's what I want you to start doing. Be aware of your thinking. Be aware of your thoughts and start asking yourself questions. Where the heck did that come from? I'm the only one who's thinking. And so everything is a choice, right? I'm not telling you to try to control your thoughts either, because thoughts are like clouds. They just be moving. They come and they go. They come and they go. But it's our emotions and our action after those thoughts that impact our lives. So I would say, and I know you hear it all the time, but I just told you how to do it. Be mindful. Think about your thoughts for real, especially when you're alone and there's no one even around. And especially when it's like a negative thought when you're alone. Like, huh? No, I ain't going for that. Yeah, start talking to yourself. People might say, "Oh, that's crazy." You don't do it. Start talking to yourself. Talk it out, because you don't do anything but talk to yourself all day anyway, regardless of whether it's verbally or not. You're thinking to yourself all day. So that would be my advice. My advice would be don't don't be too harsh. If there is something about yourself that you just do not like and you do not want to accept, research how to change it. Like if you say you're a person and you say, I am so disorganized and I don't know how not to be. Watch Marie Kondo or something, the queen of organization. Like, you got Google at your fingertips. You got a whole computer in your hand on your phone. Research habits of organized people. Literally ask Siri, how do I become more organized? Like, don't just sit and fret. Take action.
In French, Siri.
Oh, Siri heard me.
Siri, comment puis-je? In French, oh, Siri heard me.
That was funny.
Siri trying to get healing over there too. Siri trying to get
Siri was speaking in French. I don't even speak French.
That's classic.
I hope that helped. I'm sorry. I think I was kind of all over the place, but I think
you were right on par. But I know we've reached the final jewel segment, Queen, where we allow you as our guests to leave the final jewel for our audience. We've talked about how you came into doing therapy and also touch therapy work. We talked about growing up in Philly. Shout out to Philly, and how that shaped and molded you as an entrepreneur, and also as even a healer and a therapist and professional in that regard. So what would be a final jewel that you would want to leave with our audience before we let you go?
My final jewel would just be one of the same theme I've been repeating over and over. Like, if there's one thing I could impart to everyone listening now, it would be self-acceptance. Like, truly, not what other people think is good, not what other people feel like you should be as a good quote unquote human being. Accept yourself, but in order to do that, you have to learn yourself. Sit with yourself in stillness. Sit with yourself in the dark. Just sit in the dark. Like the Bible says, go into your private personal prayer closet. You can do that. Go into your own mind and really just sit. That's how I started with breathing. Notice your breath, notice your heartbeat, things like that to quiet your mind. And then kind of go from there. I would say my jewel is learn who you are without any rhetoric, without any religious overtone, without the Western culture, society, or whatever culture you're from. Try to put all of that out of your mind. Like, when I first started, I even said, you know what? I'm going to stop thinking of myself as a Black American woman. Why? Because what do those things really mean in this society? There's so many limitations that we've accepted because we are American, we are Black, we are women, if that makes sense. So that was my beginning, deconstructing first all of the descriptions and everything I had put on myself. Being American, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what? Outside, I'm none of those things. I'm a spirit in this physical body. That's all I am right now. And who is that person? And then it's, well, who do I want to be? Like, dude, that's my jewel. Get to know who you really, really are outside of who you think you are or who you've been told you are. And watch what happens next.
No, I love that. Definitely, we got to do that inner work, like Sha'ahn is telling us, you all, myself included, wisdom listeners, Twitter space listeners. We got to do that inner work in order to be the best version and the highest version of ourselves. I know, Sha'ahn, we've reached the final part of our interview. But how can people stay in contact with you, Queen, if they want to solicit your services, if they want to partner with you in any capacity? What are some ways that they can stay in touch with you after today?
Oh, please, guys, reach out to me on Instagram. I have a personal page that is Soul Intuition, and then my business page, Body Thief, the_body_thief, both on Instagram. I have a website, thebodythief.com. And mostly I am accessible through DMs. So I welcome you to DM me on either one of those accounts, and we can go from there, or send me a message through the contact form on thebodythief.com. And I would love to speak more about this too. You got to have me back on, because I do want to definitely talk about deconstructing, you know what I mean? Because think about the limits you place on yourself unconsciously just by saying you're a Black man in America.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, Queen. We have power over the words and also over the stigmas that we place over ourselves. And me
Think
being
about
a
that.
communicator, yeah, me
How
being
many
a
times have you
communicator,
been told
yeah,
you got to work extra hard? You got to do this because you're Black. You got to do this
yeah,
because you're Black. You got to accept this because you're Black.
absolutely. It's a lot of things that we place over ourselves just by the words we speak. But I know, Queen, we for sure want to say a special blessing and a special prayer over you before we let you go. And so, listeners, Smart Jewel listeners, if you've been blessed by today's episode, feel free to sow a seed. We always believe in sowing seed in good soil. Hopefully, if you've never heard about touch therapy or even been able to be introduced to alternate forms of healing and therapy, I hope our special guest Sha'ahn was able to educate us all on why we need to do more research. And definitely there's 3 ways to sow. You can either give a Cash App donation at SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can click the link in the comment section to become a monthly Patreon with us, to subscribe and get exclusive resources, access, and toolkits to shine bright for the rest of this year. Or you can purchase some of our merchandise that we just launched last season with our Create, Pray, and Shine collection, or even our Heal and Shine collection that we just are launching this season. And so we're going to say a quick prayer over you, Queen, and then let you enjoy the rest of your day, if that's okay.
Yes, I welcome it. Thank you.
Perfect. Father, yeah, I just want to thank you for Sha'ahn. I thank you for the calling and the purpose that you've placed within inside of her. I thank you for the mission that you have given her to heal and to also even educate, being in the space of healing and also wellness. We know that there's many stigmas, many stereotypes that try to box people in knowing how to heal and how to do the self-work. But we thank you for allowing her to be a voice of reason, and also even a voice of healing and also therapy for others that do not know that they need this service, but just from hearing her testimony and hearing her interview today, that they will go and make their healing and self-healing priority. We thank you for all of the clients she's been able to serve and all of the people that she's been able to just introduce to this process and also this healing. And we just ask you to bless her business, bless her in all that she does throughout the rest of this year, bring her new clients, new opportunities, new partnerships just through this interview today, Abba. And I give you all the glory, give you all the honor and all the praise. And it's in Yahshua HaMashiach's name I pray and believe. Yeah, amen. We thank you, Queen, for being.
All right.
Yeah, we thank you, Queen, for being here with us today. I know we'll be in touch. We for sure got a partner on some retreats or some summits in the next year or so. So we'll be in touch after today, and you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Shalom.
All right, Queen. We'll talk soon. Peace. Thank you
Peace.
so much.
You're welcome.